Dear people of grace, I need to let you know that after consulting with our medical advisory team, the vestry staff, and the bishop, we have decided to cancel all in-person worship and formation until further notice. This decision affects our Sunday morning and Wednesday services. We had already planned to forego in-person formation after December the 20th. We've decided to go ahead and cancel at this time, given the extraordinary pressure that we're all under as a community. So this means that we will cancel the in-person Christmas services we had planned for 1 and 2 p.m. on the 24th. We will also cancel the drive-through nativity scene that was scheduled for Saturday the 19th. The staff is working on details as to an option for the nativity to be filmed from homes, and we'll be in touch with the families who signed up for that. Of course, our online services will continue, both our regularly scheduled Sunday services at 8:15 and 10:45, as well as the 2 services planned for Christmas this year, the 4 p.m. Zoom children's pageant and the midnight mass that will be pre-recorded and sent out for access at 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve night. I'm thankful that we at least have these options to use as we celebrate the coming of Christ among us. And I'm so very grateful for the staff, vergers, musicians, and parishioners who have worked to do what they can to create a series of liturgies unlike any we have experienced before. I need to be transparent with you. One of the tensions around this decision is, of course, that December is a key month for us as a parish in terms of our revenue. For years, we've been saying that there is no, quote, overhead in churches like there may be in other organizations. There is no overhead in churches because every aspect of our life is geared toward participating in the mission of God as embodied in this community. From paper bulletins to the air system to cool and heat the pipe organ, to the staff who support pastorally and offer spaces for Christian education, to the audiovisual equipment, to our preschool, to sanitation and maintenance. There is no place where you can draw a line and say, this is overhead. All is mission, and all is dependent on the commitment we all give to our shared ministry budget. So it is no small thing for the medical team and others to say that we should cancel our in-person services for Christmas because we never want to lose momentum. In this consumer culture we live in, there is always an anxiety that someone will get upset and not fulfill or make their pledge. These months have given us all plenty of reasons to be upset, and we have done what we could to support and make solid decisions. I do not say this to guilt or shame. Rather, I think these days have called us all to a heightened sense of consciousness and honesty with one another around just what being a spiritual community really means. And a central question for us to ask ourselves at this point in these days is this: what does my practice of faith have to say when I don't get what I want, or when I'm grieving and struggling to make sense of where I am? On Friday alone, I had conversations with a dear parishioner who sat alone for hours waiting for surgery. Others are grieving because they cannot be with their daughter in the ICU as their husband's health declines and he draws closer to death. Community partners are struggling with broken hearts after reaching out to manage the tragic murder of 2 small children in our town. Staff are struggling to find ways to live into their vocations while seeing the need for tighter restrictions. Schools are pressured around closing. I welcome back my partner who's been on sabbatical for the past 3 months. And there were the conversations with the final weeks of the 2020 budget and pledges for 2021. And we had details around the nominating committee and plans for our online annual meeting in January, where you will elect 4 new vestry members in these uncertain times. That was in 1 day. And then the necessary conversations around canceling in-person services. and always this anxiety that we won't make budget. And I was so convicted with my fear and lack of faith. We will do what we can to make sure that the staff and our outreach partners have the funding we need to continue their gospel-rooted work. I am ashamed when I act as though the Spirit is not the one who has brought us all here at this time together to entrust us with the care of this community. I want to be able to say, that was when we trusted and gave birth to Christ in our own day. Because we are called to live our lives together, to share in God's dream for hope and healing in a broken world, to celebrate, laugh, tell stories, grieve with each other, hold one another up, figuratively if not in person, to pray together. In 10 months of conversations, I've been reminded what it truly means to give thanks that Christ is born among us. For unto us a child is born, again, even now. I know some of you may not think the pandemic is a big deal. A few have shared that they feel this has all been blown out of proportion in a toxic election season. Others of you have barely left your homes because you're concerned for your health and for good reason. Others of you have given your life and your dedicated life's work as medical professionals to care for all the people who come through your doors. Some assert their right not to have to wear a mask because they have a right not to wear one, and others see masks as a sacrament, as an outward and visible sign of God's grace in these days as we're called to love our neighbors as ourselves. And I'm blessed to be a priest among all of you, to try to do my best to be present while being rooted in the gospel's call. And I am reminded that the concern of the church is not only about our own inner responsibility toward one another in terms of the risk we take in our own gathering. In addition to this, we must recognize that our actions make an impact on the community through our witness, and we must model prayerful, reasonable, and compassionate behavior. To be a Christian community means that we're called to look beyond ourselves and navigate the complexities of whatever age we find ourselves in. This is not the first time our world has faced a challenge, and it will not be the last. But even now, unto us a child is born. So I guess my hope is that we can live consciously and compassionately, that we can share our grief and put our anxiety where it truly belongs, that we can put our fears where they truly belong, at the foot of the manger and at the foot of the cross, the location of Christ coming among us and the location of God's greatest act of love. We may need to cancel in-person Christmas services and in-person Sunday and Wednesday services at this time that feels so pressured for us as a community. But I believe with all my heart that we will see Christ being born among us this day and in all the days to come. It's a privilege to be your rector, and I promise to keep you all in my prayers.